Let's take a look at the recommended strategy and tools for tet-meshing thin-walled bodies. Start by importing the parasolid geometry, isolating the cut body, and creating a body mesh control as usual. You can get two elements through the tin walls by creating an additional volume layer mesh control. Let's select the body option and apply the mesh control to the CAD body. Create the volume mesh. In the advanced options, allow SimLab to adjust the nodes on all faces that don't have Preserve Mesh Control applied. This will improve the mesh quality, which can be affected by the use of element layers. As you can verify with the cutting plane tool, the volume mesh control has created two tetrahedron layers inside the thin walls. Note that the mesh control did not affect the surface mesh on the faces. The triangles adjacent to the thin walls have not been refined, which can result in poor aspect ratio values. For this reason, it can be useful to create a surface mesh first. Let's return to our CAD body. We can apply a face mesh control to influence the number of surface elements on the thin faces as well. After meshing, we can also refine the surface mesh locally using the grid mesh tool. When creating the volume mesh, remember to enable the Transfer Mesh Control from CAD option so that the volume mesh control is taken into account even if it is defined on the CAD body. Let us now utilize the complete model to demonstrate the application of proximity mesh control, which automatically refines the surface mesh surrounding thin walls. We apply first the body mesh control and volume layer mesh control already in use. With a proximity mesh control, we can locally refine the mesh for wall thicknesses below 5 millimeters. While we could specify that we want 2 layers to achieve perfectly shaped elements, this could sometimes result in an excessive number of nodes. Therefore, setting the minimum number of layers to 1 can be a more reasonable compromise for the refinement. The volume meshing will create locally refined elements where necessary. As a final option, we can define the proximity mesh control on specific faces before meshing. If we first create the surface mesh, we will have the possibility to modify the surface elements before creating the tetrahedron. For instance, we can add a new element row by using the Change Layer option. The Volume Layer Mesh control can also be applied locally to specific faces. For instance, we can apply it directly to the thin walls of the surface mesh body. If you wish to consider the volume layer mesh controls that are defined on the surface mesh, make sure to disable the option that would have utilized the ones on the CAD. Finally, remember to run a quality check for the elements. The option, Quality Check New, will allow you to save and use mesh quality templates.